Okay, so today we are making a leather wallet. My buddy Mike asked me to make him one, and this is the picture that he sent me for reference. You can see that this is made from a single piece of leather that is wrapped around a couple times to make a total of 4 pockets. Now, I don't have much experience making wallets. I've done a couple simple card holders in the past, but just about all of my leather experience is in knife sheaths. So I'd say this is a little bit new for me, but I'm gonna go ahead and do my best. Now for a quick rundown of everything I'm gonna use for this project. For this project, I am using a 5-ounce sheet of clean tooling leather, an edge beveler, a stitching groover, some hole punches, a sharp razor. You'll also want a ruler. Leather dye is optional, but I do recommend using a wax to protect the leather, a couple stitching needles, and some heavy-duty thread. I recommend Richardson 25 Tiger thread. Alright, so this wallet's gonna have a height of about 3 3/4. So I'm just making some measurements and cutting a strip. And I recommend using a metal ruler because it's easy to use as a cutting fence. Alright, so there's the strip. And this piece is actually going to be too short to get 4 pockets out of. I don't have any longer sections of leather on hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and improvise by adding a second piece to this. This won't match the picture that I was shown exactly, but it'll be pretty close and I think it'll look real cool. Alright, so I've cut the second piece. I'm gonna go ahead and match the height by measuring it next to the first strip. Alright, now I'm gonna go ahead and remove some leather from the strip. That way when it's all folded up, the pockets sort of step down from each other. Alright, so now you can kind of see how this second piece is gonna be incorporated. And by doing it like this, I will now have 4 pockets in the wallet. A couple of these pockets are going to be cut diagonally, just like in the picture before, so we're going to go ahead and draw some lines with a pencil and get it all cut up. Now that it's all cut, I'm just doing a quick fit to make sure everything lines up. And you can see all 4 pockets in this wallet now. Before I get this all stitched up, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my maker's mark on the back. To do this, I've gotten the leather wet and I'll be using a clamp to press my brand into the workpiece. Alright, so while the leather is still wet, I'm gonna go ahead and do a bit of a water mold and just get this wallet folded into place and clamp down with some light pressure so that those rolled edges are a little bit tighter, and that'll make it easier for me when I'm ready to stitch this. And there's another quick look at how these 2 pieces are gonna be constructed. Right now I'm figuring out where all the stitching needs to go. Using a stitching groover, I'm gonna run some lines on the leather. This tool carves a channel in the leather. That way when it's all stitched up, the thread can sit inside rather than stand proud on top of the piece. There's a look at the first cut. I'm gonna go ahead and do this everywhere that will have visible stitching. The top left corner of the second pocket will also receive a few stitches. Now I'm using an edge beveling tool to help me round my corners. It's important to do this before it's all stitched up because it's very hard to work on the edges when it is. And there's a look at the beveled edges. Now I'm going to go ahead and burnish these edges real quick. I can't seem to find my burnishing tool, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the handle of the edge beveler. This process helps round all of the edges that have been beveled and leaves a slick finish. Now on to punching holes. I always recommend using a punch that'll do 2 or more holes. That way you can keep your spacing even by putting one of the punches into the last hole from the set before. Now that I've got all my holes punched, I'm going to go ahead and dye this leather. I'm using Phoebe's dark brown leather dye. It's alcohol based, so it dries real fast. Now that the dye is set, I'm using woodsman wax. This is a product that I put out myself. It's essentially a beeswax mixed with boiled linseed oil and a few other oils. So you can make something similar at home if you don't want to buy it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this stitched up. I'm getting everything folded into place one more time just to make sure it lines up. I'm going to start off by stitching the top left of the second pocket. That's going to be a hard to reach area once it's all folded up, so I'm going to do that first. Using 2 needles, I am saddle stitching this leather. It's a pretty easy process. I'm not going to go into depth about how to do it, but check the description. I will have a video linked if you want to learn how. Moving on to the bottom of the wallet, this area is a little bit trickier to stitch because I'm going through 5 layers. So it's important to make sure you line things up multiple times before you go ahead and start punching holes. Now that I've got everything stitched up, I can clean up the welt where the 5 layers meet at the bottom of the wallet. And now I am using the edge beveler on the bottom welt. I didn't bevel this edge originally because I knew it would be a little bit off until I flushed up the 5 layers. And now I'm applying some dye to all the edges that I touched up. And just like before, I'm going to burnish the edge. I'll throw on a little bit more wax just to make sure it's protected. One more time, I'm checking over the wallet to make sure all the stitching is tight and all the edges are smooth. Now that it's all finished up, I'm going to set this in the sun for a few hours on each side to help set the wax. And there's the finished product. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I hope Mike likes it. I hope you guys liked it, and let me know if you have any questions. Drop them down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.